Hi, this is Cindy and Destiny from Keep It Real Podcast, and today we're here with Jeff Paul from PML Wrestling, and he is the owner and the champion, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry about the mistake on the name. Well, our biggest apologies. I'm sorry.
Like I told you before, I've been called a lot worse.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. You want to tell people a little bit about yourself before we get started?
My ring name's Jeff Paul. I just celebrated my 6-year anniversary as a wrestler. I think I wrestled 9 states this year. I think Sunday, which is actually my birthday, and I'm booked in Winston-Salem, it'll be my 100th and 19th match of the year. So last year I hit 100. I think it was 102, so I've already exceeded last year. So
well, happy birthday.
Try to just keep working up to 150, 200.
That's awesome. Happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So where's your promotion based?
Well, we started actually in Bluefield, West Virginia. We run the Green Valley Skating Rink. We did that. I started my promotion probably 6 months before the pandemic started, and we had to get real creative and run through the pandemic. We had to do drive-in shows and social distancing shows, and it was a lot. It was hard. It was a very trying time, but we got through it. So I ran Bluefield. We do a 4-H camp for special needs kids every year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we do 2 of those every summer, back-to-back weeks. We do the War Fall Festival every single year, and we also recently picked up the Kimball Fall Festival. We did it this past year. We do the Spring Fling at Concord University. We do the Mountain Festival in Bluefield. So we did all that, and recently we actually partnered up with a Retro Reset at the Crossroads Mall, and we actually have a TV deal now. We air on the New River Network every Thursday night at 9 p.m. So we run the Crossroads Mall. We're actually in the Crossroads Mall. Retro Reset has a space beside their store where we keep the ring. It's actually the old Deb's store. Great for studio wrestling. We've had almost 300 people in attendance at some of those shows. So,
oh wow, congratulations! I mean, that's fantastic. So real quick, hi Eileen, good to see you again. But yeah, so how did you come about being I know you've been wrestling for how long?
6 years.
6 years. How did you come about wanting to be a promoter or an owner?
Well, so what happened was I had always played football my whole life from 7 years old through high school. Then I had a scholarship. I played 1 year at Glenville State, and then I played several years of semi-pro. And one day I was driving by a school, like a wrestling school, and I went in, introduced myself to the guy, and we didn't exactly get along for the longest time. But that's where I got my start, and then I went on elsewhere. But I kind of was always fascinated with so with the wrestling business. I notice a lot of guys will never get the opportunity just because nobody's willing to take a chance on them. And that always kind of bothered me. So I was seeing a lot of people why doesn't this guy get booked? I see him at training all the time. I see he's posting his videos. He's good. He looks good. He's got a good gimmick. So, yeah, I started to run a couple shows just to, trial and error, and they did really well. So another reason I also wanted to run shows is there hadn't been wrestling in Bluefield in a very long time. And if there was, it was like a big time wrestling show that would come to the Brushfork Armory, once a year. There was no consecutive company running. So that's why, I kind of was like, we need something to do around this area, bring wrestling back. I can remember when I was a kid, my dad would take me to the Brushfork Armory, and, I had really good memories of that. So I'm like, I'd like to share that with other people. Other people get that opportunity. It's not always been easy. You had to build it from the ground up. You know what I mean? Now I don't mean to toot our own horn, but I think PWL is one of the top promotions in the state of West Virginia, just based off the talent, the production standpoint. You know, a lot of people always talk about the draw. Our draw just continues to grow. We tell long-term storytelling, which you don't even see on TV anymore. So we really, everybody on board has bought into this. We have a great group of guys. I have people coming from Tennessee, North Carolina,
Wow.
local WV. We've got a really great women's division. That's big on me. That's big for me because, like, I have a 9-year-old daughter. So, for the longest time, anytime I take her to shows or she goes to show, there'd be no women's matches. So that's kind of hard to explain to your 9-year-old daughter. You know what I mean? Well, why is it no women wrestling? So we take pride in our women's division. Most of them can probably outwork some of the men. You know what I mean? They're really good. So
what do you do training also? Like, do you train other wrestlers that come in?
up at the Crossroad Mall location, we do training on Tuesday and Thursday nights from 6 to 9. We are actually getting ready to graduate our first class January 2nd. So the head trainers are Aaron West and Benny Conley. Benny Conley's been in the business for a long time. He's actually injured right now, so he's taking a break from wrestling, but he started with the class, and Aaron West has been great. His resume speaks for itself. So, and I help when needed. I do a lot of administrative stuff, and I work with them, character development, promos, stuff like that. If Aaron needs a night off, I'm there to help them. So it's been great. A lot of them, I think, you will see them at the next level. Probably on TV one day. And even the ones that's not graduating with this first class, they're going to continue to work hard. Once they graduate, they'll be right there taking bookings.
What's important? We have a comment here from Out of the Box Sports. Grimble State Pioneers. I know a kid who plays there. Javon Butler, wide receiver.
Yeah, probably way before my time when I was there. Or I was probably way before his time, probably when I was there. So I was there in 2012. He was probably like 8 years old or something, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was a cool college. It just I wasn't necessarily ready for college, if that makes sense. I would have loved to take a little break instead of jumping, right into. Football is a very physical sport, and I put a lot of pressure on myself. You got to go straight to college. You've got to get a scholarship. You got to do this. So when I got there, I was just, the 6 a.m. workouts, the mandatory study hall stuff. It was just really hard to maintain and been away from home. So yeah, I definitely wasn't ready for college football. But I'm glad. I always tell people, like, I don't regret any of the decisions I made that's led me to where I am, because they've made me who I am. You know what I mean? So, like, I needed that experience to appreciate other things in life.
Yeah, you worked for it. It wasn't handed to you.
Yeah, man. I mean, nothing. It's like my dad told me. He said, you did what you said you was going to do. As a kid, you got a scholarship. If you're not happy, you got to do something else. So.
Hey, Dave. And also Paul said, yeah, he's in school now.
Yeah.
For sure. Was there any particular wrestler that inspired you?
So, like, there's a couple moments that stand out, from your childhood that, like, make you fall in love with, the business. So, growing up, like, I was far off from wealthy. You know what I mean? Like, my mom she got pregnant at 17, so she had me at 18 years old. She saved up enough money to take me to my first WWE Live in Bristol. It was just a little house show, but I thought it was the coolest thing, you know what I mean? And we were, like, up in the nosebleeds, but I would, at that, I was just thankful to be there. And then when we go outside, it's snowing, the weather's terrible, and I'm standing out there and all these wrestlers are passing by, and John Cena walks by, and I hand my CD case through the fence, and he signed it. And yeah, I remember I was like, that's when he was feuding with Edge at the time. So, and Edge had just beat him at the Elimination Chamber. I'm like, you've got to win the belt back. And he's like, I promise you I will. Yeah, that to me, that meant, like, the world. So, Another example, R Truth, when he was in TNA, he came to the Brushwork Armory, and they did a 2-night deal. But you had to buy tickets for both nights. So I could afford to go the first night, but I couldn't afford to go the second. And he actually left me a ticket at the door the following night, which I thought was really cool.
That is. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't hear that hardly
Yeah,
ever.
a lot of these,
You
a lot
know?
of these guys, they are my, they actually done stuff for me. And now occasionally, not so much like John Cena, but the guys I used to watch at the Armory, I'm on shows with now. You know what I mean? Like I sit in the locker room with them and I actually wrestle them. Like I wrestled Ricky Morton this year. I wrestled Hernandez from TNA. I tagged with Chase Stevens. Worked shows with the Sandman, all those ECW guys. And it's like, those were the guys I was going as a kid to watch.
Yeah. Does that make you want to like give back more? Like to make sure, hi Ken. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I mean we do a lot. Like I'm bad about I get fussed at sometimes for it, but I'm bad about letting some people in for free. You know what I mean? If they give me a sob story, I hope nobody watches this and holds it against me. But sometimes, if somebody tells me they're struggling, I'm not gonna let them miss the show. So I actually have several photos with Heath Slater. So he's actually I work a lot of shows with him. He's actually the current ASW champion in Madison. So yeah, he's a really good dude, and he's another example of self-made, just from the small town of Pineville, West Virginia.
Yeah, and you never know when one of those people that can't afford a ticket. That's one thing I love about independent wrestling. You never know who you're helping. You don't know if they're going to end up being the next John Cena.
So we had a guy. So like, there was a kid. I won't use his name because I don't want to take credit for any of his success because it was all him. But a lot of people wasn't really giving him a chance. He worked a couple shows for us. Now he's a regular on AEW television.
Oh,
So
wow.
you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
A lot of these guys never get to showcase their talent.
And that's what's awesome about you all giving him a chance. See, Eddie Prather says, Jeff, just don't steal Heath. He got kids giving.
Oh no. Well, I can promise you this: he's making a lot more than Jeff Paul right now. Yeah.
Speaking of family life, I know you're so busy. How do you balance that?
It's probably the hardest part for me because, I'm this monster heel, and then I have to come home and like watch Bluey. You know what I mean? I go tell these people how much I hate them, and give them the middle finger, and then I come home and it's like we're building gingerbread houses and watching Bluey. But no, it's great. I'm able to what's good is I can turn it on and off. Um, you hear things like along your journey that stick with you, and something somebody told me a while back was just always make sure you control your gimmick. Don't let the gimmick control you. So don't, and my favorite wrestler of all time is Ric Flair, but he no longer knows any life other than Ric Flair, which is fine. I mean, it works for him, but he does not know who he was before Ric Flair. He actually let his gimmick consume him. So you just have to, watch. And like I said, I'll catch myself too. Like if I feel like I'm still kind of in gimmicks, like, all right, dude, you're home. Do the dishes. You know what I mean? Like, which it's cool because I have a lot of support at home as well. My fiance really she's an RN, so she's constantly like just worried sick that I'm going to get hurt. So I mean, if I have any like nagging injuries or anything, she's able to take care of them or diagnose them at the house.
I'm sure that comes in handy.
Yeah,
keep some medical bills down a little.
They don't come watch me a whole lot because it scares my daughter. She's 9 years old. She doesn't like to see me getting hit and stuff. And my son, he came to one and he was crying for me the whole time, reaching for me while I was in the ring. So
Oh,
he
bless his heart.
he's not quite old enough to understand it yet, but he loves wrestling. You can put on TV, he'll watch it all day. He loves he'll just come up and hit me with his little toy vacuum or something. You know what I mean? Like he's definitely into the wrestling phase. He's got all the little action figures.
I'm not sure what's happening, but all we're seeing is a black screen.
Yeah, I can still see you guys.
You can still see us?
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, we'll just keep. We can't see you, but
Yeah.
you can still see us though.
See and hear you.
Okay. Okay. I was gonna say we've watched several. We've never got to see you in person, but we've watched several of your matches on YouTube. And I just have to ask you, how tall are you? Because you make every other competitor we've seen look like an ant.
Yeah, I'm 6'4". I've put on about 10 pounds of muscle. I've been hitting the gym twice a day really hard. So I was 215. Now I'm 225.
Do you have any upcoming events that you'd like people to know about?
Yeah, so December 16th, we're doing TV taping at the Crossroads Mall. Ricky Morton will be there.
Awesome.
So he'll be wrestling on that card. And then the following day, December 17th, we're having our Christmas show down in Bluefield at the skating rink.
We love Ricky Morton.
Oh, he's awesome. I've learned a lot from him. So like I went to, he's got a school in Tennessee, School Morton, and it's a really good place for young wrestlers to go if they want to learn how to work television. I don't think people quite understand the difference in working non-televised and televised. It's like a total different beast. You know what I mean? Like you've got to know where the hard camera is. You got to know, where you're going to set the selling point. You have to know, like, you have to stick to your time. It's so different. So you really have to work at TV.
You how would people get hold if they wanted to book you? How would they get hold of you?
So I'm on Facebook as Jeff James, and also on the Premier Wrestling page, I see all those messages. So Premier Wrestling League Mid Atlantic. You'll see our flyer. The cover photo is always the following show. You can also reach out to Retro Reset. They handle a lot of my bookings too, as far as dates and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm very easy to work with. I don't even think I raised my rate till about year 5. Yeah, it's just because I wanted to always, like the way I look at it, if a promoter's willing to bring me in, I want to show them what I'm worth. You know what I mean? Before
Yeah.
like test drive this car. If you like it, buy it type deal.
Your YouTube. What's your YouTube page also? Because I mean, I know we've watched so many matches with you.
Oh yeah, if you just type in Jeff Paul Wrestler, all kinds of stuff comes up. We've got me and Gangrel on there. That was a fun one that just happened. There's a lot of stuff. Just Jeff Paul Wrestler, and it all pops up.
And we always like to do this with everybody that we get on here with. Who is your Mount Rushmore of wrestling?
Definitely Ric Flair, number one. I'll put John Cena on there just because, like, I understand a lot of people say he doesn't have a move set or whatever, but he didn't need one. Yeah, I mean, he was super over with the crowd. He made millions of dollars in this business because he was so marketable. And that's what's about. And what I like about John Cena too, if you go back and look, he worked everybody. You know what I mean? Like he worked the technical guys, he worked the giants, he worked the little guys. Like he could work anybody and make them look great. Probably honestly, you almost have to put Hulk Hogan on there. Again, didn't have a huge set, move set, but he done so much for the bit. I mean, he brought like so many eyes to the product. I mean, he was a real life superhero at his time, and the whole NWO. I mean, that's my favorite thing to watch. Fun fact: I watch WCW stuff like from the early to mid '90s. I think that was the best wrestling you could watch. Personal opinion. Then it started, die off towards the late '90s, and obviously they, bankrupt themselves and whatnot. But no, and let's see. The fourth one would be now. This is going to shock some people, but I think Vader. And
Hey.
the reason I say that is I actually watched one of his matches with Flair the other day. To be so big, he moves so well. Him and Bam Bam Bigelow both, they move so well for their size. Vader could do a moonsault at almost 400 pounds. So he was great. And, it's really hard just to pick. You got to put Undertaker, too. I mean, he's done, had such a long run. I don't think people realize how long his run was. I mean, what is it, like 3 decades at least?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I mean, 3.5, 4 decades, and that was being a top guy. I mean, he was always, I can't remember any time Taker was on the mid card. He was always a top guy. Move that you do when wrestling.
Yeah, but yeah, Undertaker, I agree with that. And Vader. I mean, you don't see today very many his size.
No, and I mean, he had a great gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
To answer Dave's question, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to drop.
You're fine. I'm sitting here looking at my phone, watching it because we can't see anything on our laptop.
So my favorite move is actually I do a spear, but I flip with it. So and I think it looks better than Bobby Lashley's. I tell people that all the time. Of course, again, Bobby Lashley is making a lot more money than Jeff Paul, but I like to think my spear is better than his.
And that was something else I was going to ask you. I'm glad you brought it up. I was going to ask you if you feel like that you have similarities in the way you wrestle. What wrestler would that be?
So I get compared a lot to Edge. I think my heel work, my move set, I get compared a lot to Edge, and I try to sell like Flair because he was so good at selling. So a lot of my selling, I try to, but really, another piece of advice I got: don't try to be the next anybody, be the first you. You know what I mean? So like, I want people to be like, eventually 10 years from now, like, do I have similarities to Jeff Paul? You know what I mean? Like, do I work like him? Because a lot of my stuff I do on the fly, and I've just tried my best to be, original.
And I love that. That's such good advice because a lot of people do try to be somebody else. I love that. It's like we try to tell Destiny because she's training also. She's, wanting to be this certain character, which is fantastic. And she is so set that she's not going to copy anybody else.
I think you actually have to be able to relate to your gimmick in some form. You know what I mean? Like,
hey, Destiny, I'm actually on if you can hear me, hon. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. There's got a lot of comments. I'm going to go through some of the comments real quick because there's a lot of questions out there for James real quick. Is that okay?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Dave asked, hey, Jeff, what is your favorite move? I think you already got into that. What do you like to do when wrestling?
Yeah, the spear.
The spear, okay. Ken Fry says also, what's your favorite part of the business?
Oh, that's a good one. So my favorite part of the business, I tell everybody this. So like, I won't see somebody for 6 months, and then I'll be on a show out of state, and we'll see each other, and it's like we never left off. You know what I mean? Like, you just develop those types of friendships and relationships. Like, You can't, you run into, and eventually now, like every show, I know at least one or two people, whether it's at home or 3 states away. That's my favorite part.
Gotcha. That's awesome. That's like going to a high school reunion when you didn't like somebody back in the day, and then you run into them 30 years later and you're best friends, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Ken Fry says, Vader, it's time, it's Vader time. A question for you. Dave and Ken do a Atomic Drop podcast on Friday nights at 10:30 with Cindy and Destiny as well. They jump in and chime in all the time. Dave's one of the hosts. He says he's a huge HBK fan. Are you an HBK fan?
So I like HBK. If this makes sense, I like HBK. Like, I hate to say it like this. I like HBK when he was at his worst as a person. If that makes sense, I feel like that's when his best work was. I know that sounds terrible, but like the Rockers and when he came back. And this is no insult to him. I liked him before he had the injury and left and came back. The whole rehab stint and whatnot.
Gotcha. And while I was backstage, I had a comment up here I wanted to put up here. What is your dream match for yourself to be in, WWE-wise, one past and one present-day wrestler? Who would you choose for one night, WWE pay-per-view? Who would you choose?
So, in the past, it would obviously, he's no longer with us, but I would love to work Macho Man, just because I feel like that would be. I feel like we could mash together our gimmicks, and I also This is going to sound. I would love to wrestle CM Punk because I don't like CM Punk. So.
Is there a reason why there? Because I know Cindy and Destiny, they almost had a heart attack when CM Punk came back.
So, well, let me rephrase that. I like CM Punk. I don't like Phil Brooks. So, and that's just okay. So my big thing is, and like I said, everybody's entitled to their opinion. He was brought back. He had a great I guess it's me, dude. I have to work with people weekly that I absolutely cannot stand. You know what I mean? I'm just being honest. Mm-hmm. But I will go out there and I will have a match with them. I will take care of them in the ring. Like, there will be no drama. This dude, like, you can't assault your coworkers every time they make you mad. You know what I mean? And he kind of did that twice. So if he turns it around this time, more power to him. I know people that he used to be on the indies with, when he was having his Ring of Honor run, stuff like that. And he wasn't friendly to them. Now, like I said, that's not me, Barrett. I don't know him, never seen him. But I think it would be fun to work him regardless because, he's kind of got that bad boy mentality. I do too. So.
Gotcha. We do have one more comment from Omen Black, Boogeyman of the Midwest. Good evening from the Boogeyman of the Midwest. Is this a rival or, what is this here, Jeff?
Who, the Boogeyman of the Midwest?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who that is.
Oh, okay. I think he's trying to challenge you.
He's going to be on a podcast with us very soon.
Oh, cool.
Hey, buddy.
There you go. Jeff, if I can ask you a question real quick. I'm not really into huge wrestling. I'm old school wrestling, Stone Cold, The Rock. Yep. Those were my days, Hulk Hogan. That's to me when I'm 52, so I was old, watching it then. But my question to you is, you're the owner of your own wrestling company, a promoter as well, wrestler too, 3 phases of the game here. If you could change one thing about the WWE, what would you change in your eyes from, where you're at now and what you see, in indie wrestling? What would you change?
So, like I said earlier, I'd like to see more long-term storytelling. It's kind of like they have 1 or 2 matches and then they do the blow-off on the pay-per-view. Like, I missed the feuds like Flair and Steamboat, that went on, like, seemed like an eternity. And, one other thing, too, I hate TV PG. I'm going to be honest. Like, we have to do it on the indies, family friendly, but you can't tell me the Attitude Era didn't have better ratings than what's on now. There's just it's just, I feel like you'll watch an episode of Raw or SmackDown, and sometimes you only see like 3 matches. Like, I think there was one show that was 3 hours long, and they said there was 30 minutes of actual wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, so I understand there's sports entertainment, wrestling. I think it needs to be common. You need to meet each other in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I would just, and I say this too, and again, this is all personal opinion. So, I watch, I was telling them, I watch old WCW from 90 to 96. That's my favorite. You don't really see guys like Lex Luger or Kevin Nash, or you don't really see the big guys that much anymore, which is fine because it's evolved so much. But I would like to see more the old school heels come back, big, tough, spray tan, veiny guys.
Yeah. I was going to ask you a minute ago before we lost the screen. People ask us all the time, what is the difference in independent wrestling and in the major leagues?
So I went to a NWA tryout at the school, Morton, and I did really well. I actually got to work. The guy I worked was deaf, so he could not hear at all. So you had to. He had a translator that you translate everything through, but they gave you a 3-minute time. You know what I mean? You do 3 minutes. If you go over, bye. So that compared to the indies, if you go over, if your match time's 10 to 12 and you go 15 or 16, people's probably not going to say too much to you about it. On TV, like I said, and another thing too, on TV, especially if it's live television, luckily, so the TV we do, it's, they're there filming, but it doesn't air till a week later. So if there's any, say somebody gets a bad nosebleed or something, or breaks their ankle, that can be edited out. On live television, you just got to go with it.
What would you say was one of the biggest obstacles starting your promotion?
Funds, finances. And I think that anybody understands that. There would be times, and my roster can, tell you this, there'd be times I would have to go to the ATM and, withdraw a couple $100 just to make sure the boys got paid. But I knew that's one of those, you can't really go ask for sponsorships, and you can't really go, asking these people to get behind you until you show them what your product's going to be.
Right.
Yeah, that's a true statement there, Jeff. I mean, this podcast company out of the box here. It's so hard getting sponsors. The first thing I ask you, what have you done lately? Who are you? How many followers do you have? It's hard. You put in the work. I think that should show enough to many people that you have the passion and dedication, to start from ground zero and building it up, especially when you take money out of your own pockets, like you said,
And I tell everybody this, and they believe me after they try to run a show. I have a lot more fun going places working than I do running a show. Trust me, because you're not just responsible for yourself. You're responsible for 20, 30 other people and everything. And one thing I've noticed, if it can go wrong, it's going to go wrong the day of the show. There was times I ran shows in March, late March, where we would have a blizzard. I mean, snow sticking on the ground, ice storm the day of the show.
Mm-hmm. And that goes to show, just like tonight, Destiny, we're ready for this show and everything, and then we got a blackout on there. And real quick, anything goes on during a live show, you never know. As long as you're not prepared for it, the show must go on, correct? In your ways too, correct?
Got to improvise. I fought through injuries on shows. I actually, probably about year 3, I got headbutted in the chin, and it killed all the nerves in all 4 of my bottom teeth. So that happened, and I had to finish the match, and my teeth were all jacked up, and I was spitting out blood, and I ended up actually having to have 4 root canals in one day. So it was about a $4,000, $1,000 a piece to have these root canals.
Jeez. Jeff, I have a question for you. I'm old school wrestling, and I'm starting to get back into it now since we have 2 podcasts on the network here about wrestling. I used to be one of these guys, oh, don't watch wrestling, it's fake. What do you have to say to people about that? Because I credit every one of you guys, because that is one hell of a performance that you put on day in and day out. And what do you have to say to the naysayers out there? Because in kind of a way, you're speaking to me in a little bit of way, but let me know from a wrestling standpoint, of what you tell people when you're asked that.
One thing I tell people about that is, especially like people, it's not, I take it as an insult. Like if I'm in public and someone says, "You're a wrestler, isn't that fake?" Because, there's no way to fake getting hit over the head with a chair. There's no way to fake, taking 6 back bumps in a match. There's no way to fake running into the turnbuckle. Like, so, a lot of people that say that just can't do it. And instead of saying they can't, they decide to insult it. You know what I mean?
True.
That's the problem. They rather just say, I get all the time. These people are like, well, that's fake. I'd rather watch MMA or whatever. I'm like, okay, dude, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do either. You know what I mean? So you're just insulting to insult. But yeah, it's an insult because, this is, like I told them, I played football from the time I was 7 years old, a little bit of college, like 4 years of semi-pro. Wrestling has been 10 times harder on my body because with football, I have 1 game a week. You practice 3 days, then you wear shorts and t-shirt, go for pregame walkthrough, whatever. With this, like I'll wrestle 3 times this week alone. You know what I mean? So that's probably equivalent to 20 some bumps I'll take this weekend.
Wow.
And then have to do it again next weekend, twice. And
I give you all the credit in the world. I mean, one of the boxers last night, Trayshawn Wiggins, he's a welterweight boxer. He's the current champion, of the United States. He fought last night. I got into the ring with him about a year ago, just talking to him. And, boxing, I watch the sport. I understand the sport. Just like you said, I can't box. So I got in the ring with him just to see how hard he hits. And let's put it this way, Jeff. I laid on the ground for about 60 seconds, cold knocked out. So it's all the credit in the world.
That's what, but like I've had people that'll do that. They'll get in there, they'll take the first chop, and then they're done. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, maybe that's not fake.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Eddie says it's freaking scripted, not fake. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then he says, don't ever use work around. I just threw it out there because I was one of the people that said it. But, looking over it for all the years that I've grown up and saying, wow, this is a respectful sport because these guys put their body on the line, just like you said, 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week. And it's not just, a walkthrough anymore.
So like I wrestled Eric Darkstorm a couple weeks ago, and he's one of the centerpieces to the Netflix documentary Wrestlers that's doing really well on Netflix. And he says it best on there. He says this cuss word will ruin your life. You know what I'm saying? And so for anybody to call it fake, this and I will call it a sport because to me that's what it is, has ruined people's lives. Not down the sport whatsoever, but you got to think so many of these people turn to drug addictions because they're in pain constantly. They're up all night. You go in the main event, you have to be at the next town the following day. You have to drive straight to the hotel, or if you can't afford a hotel, you're sleeping in your car or hoping that somebody in the town lets you crash on their couch. So it's a lot of sacrifice for somebody to say it's fake. And like the guy in here that does the deathmatch wrestling, I don't do deathmatch wrestling, but I know that, there is a market for it. And I know that it puts your body through a lot. So, regardless of the style of wrestling you're doing, you can't ever call it fake.
Right.
Understandable, respectful. Yeah. I mean, I coach football up here and I get a kid that just, jams his finger and he's out for a week. And I'm like, man, boy, you are soft. Then you look at these wrestlers coming in every day after night, flying off the top rope, taking this, elbow to the chin, whatever the table, whatever. And it's just like so respectful. Definitely respectful.
Stevens gave me the best trick. He's helped me a lot in my career. He said, carry super glue with you. And I said, why? He said, it's quicker to super glue a cut than it is to go to the hospital and get stitches. So, and I've had to do that before. I gashed my eye on a chair and I just had to super glue it shut. So,
wow. Yeah, that's insane. Wow. So much respect for you, Jeff. Definitely, man.
Yes. And I've seen just from watching other independent wrestling, so many injuries happen right then and there. I mean, you could never tell me that it would be fake, as they say. And even watching YouTube, watching you, I've seen so many things happen on just your matches. And the chops that you get, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Look, your chest is just bleeding.
It's really funny. My grandmother, she, I can't believe you let them hit you in the chest. You know, she'll come to the shows and because see, when I'm Jeff Paul, I'm not, I'll flip my grandma the bird. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, associating with anyone in the crowd or please anyone in the crowd. I make a lot of people laugh. They say, would you let your mom in? I said, no, I charge her double.
I like that. Wow.
So one more thing that I have, if you had to tell anybody why to pick PWL, why would it be?
Well, number one, we keep it very affordable. So our mall shows are $10, and like I said, you're going to be on TV for $10. We encourage you to bring your signs. We encourage you to be loud, and we allow fans to get into it. Obviously, you can't assault the wrestlers, and we don't want you, throwing cuss words around because we try to keep it family. But you can be as loud as you want. Make your signs. For $10, you're going to get entertained for 2.5 hours. Just like my skating rink shows, the ones on the 17th, we're doing half price admission. So my skating rink shows have always been $12. So for $6, you can be entertained from 6 to 9 o'clock. And we don't. I mean, even the trainees we're booking are quality workers. I don't put any match, or I try not to put any matches out there that I wouldn't personally want to see. Like I wouldn't want. If I feel like it would cause a fan to get up and leave or bore them, I'm not going to put it out there.
Oh, I like that. Jeff, I have one question for you. I have custody of my niece up here. She's 13 years old, about to turn 14, going on 21 really. But, but my advice, we've been watching wrestling a lot, and she's actually thinking about her favorite is Io Sky. She like Asuka, Charlotte Flair, of course, the big names. She was actually joking. I don't know if she's joking around. Hell, I don't even know. She was like, hey, I really want to get into wrestling. I really want to do it because I've been watching the podcast. What advice do you have to give to someone that's around that age to, don't push them, but how do you mold them into a wrestler and push them into that right direction, if it's right or wrong?
I mean, honestly, if I could go back and redo it, I would have wrestled in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would have. We had a wrestling team, but like I said, I would have never guessed. I mean, football was my number one goal, but I definitely start wrestling in high school. It's a different type of wrestling, but if you ever wrestle like a collegiate wrestler, you can tell they've wrestled in college. You can tell they're very technical. They know what they're doing. But too, I would say, I would still say, keep your grades up and finish school.
Yes.
Hey, keep your options open. Go to college. Like I said, I'd wrestle in high school. If you can get your education paid for through college, do that. Go that route.
Mm-hmm.
A lot easier. And then after college, if you want to do it. But I'll tell anybody too, man. Like just follow your dreams. Like if I would have quit. The first place I trained, like the person hates my guts now. You know what I mean? Like we don't get along. If I would have listened to these people when I first started, I would have never even probably had my third match. And I was green. I was thrown out way too early because I sold tickets, and I'm saying that humbly. But it was my hometown, so they knew I would sell tickets. But I was, I had to run before I even knew how to walk. So once I slowed down and got the help I needed. And it started to come along, I'm like, maybe I can do this. And then just over time, it's kind of just took off. And I get asked a lot, like somebody told me, they're like, how'd you get good so quick? I'm like, dude, it took a lot of going to the bookings nobody else wanted to take. It did a lot of going out there, getting beat up for 5 minutes, listening to the veterans in the car rides. I remember I drove to South Dakota in a car to wrestle and drove straight back. It was 18 hours one way.
Wow. It's all about dedication. I mean, with like the podcast thing here, I started this a year and a half ago with one show. Now we're at 19. It's doing your homework, dedication, doing it day in and day out, listening to your naysayers say you shouldn't do this, you can't do this. To me, that builds fire to me. When I hear negative, positive talk, I use it as positive criticism, and I boost myself up higher. And I think that's what a lot of indie wrestlers go through as well. If I'm right or wrong about that.
The best revenge is success. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what I tell everybody. And a lot of the people that crapped on me on my way up are now wanting to come work my shows,
Wow.
wanting to wrestle with me. And it comes full circle, you know what I mean? So that's like my advice to anybody is be careful who you crap on the way up because you're going to see them on the way back down.
So truthful. So truthful.
And you never, one thing about this independent wrestling business, and I'm going to let y'all in, you will never, ever be liked by everybody. It's just not going to happen. There is a lot of fake people in this business. And the best saying was when Ken Anderson said, pro wrestling is real, people are fake. That's how it really is. Like, a lot of these people will kiss your butt in the locker room, and then the second you walk away, they are trying so hard to bury you. It's just like any other job, though. You know what I mean? That happens in all kinds of workplaces.
Sure.
That happens, coaching little league sports. The parents are going to talk bad about the coach if you lose a game. That's how it goes. You know what I mean?
Oh, you're preaching there. I coach football up here, and my record is 22-4 in the last 2 years, and I've lost to the number one team in the nation. Well, in California, going from California all the way across, of course, we've lost to them 4 times, and all the parents, talk behind your back, but it's insane. It really is.
That's like in the AA state championship game. It was North Marion Fairmont Senior. The coach decided to go for 2 to win the game. Mm-hmm. He didn't get it. I said, well, if he gets it there, he's coach of the year.
Hero. He's the hero.
Now he's, they want him. So
agree.
You're never going to please everybody.
100%.
And I'd just like to say, anybody out here watching, looking in that area, in the Bluefield area, if you see PWL, go watch it. Watch it on YouTube. We've been watching it, and it's so worth the money. Jeff, thank you for what you do, for your promotion. I mean, we were sitting and watching and just going to the next one, then to the next one, then to the next one. I mean, it's definitely worth it.
And, like I tell people what makes me comfortable, and hopefully this isn't true, but, I mean, hopefully this will never happen, but if I went out here and died tonight, PWL's in good hands. You know what I mean? Like, it'll continue to go. Like, I have the right people running it. Like, my booker, great. My announcer, great. Sponsors, great. Like, I have the right people. So I'm setting it up to where if I ever have to step away, it won't miss a beat.
Right. Jeff, I do have a question for you regarding, Cindy said, on the YouTube there. Where is that link? What is that? Where exactly is the location that we can go? I'm going to actually tag you in some things so our viewers out there too can start seeing the YouTube channel as well to grow that as well for you.
So I'm on so many different, like the best thing is just type in Jeff Paul Wrestler and it all pops up. But I'm on a lot of my footage is on Wrestle-Roni.
Okay.
And then there's actually a PWL YouTube page where like my match with Kerry Morton and some other workers from the companies on there. The New River Network, our stuff's on there now. There's a lady named Rebecca Hicks. She's the best fan in the wrestling business in West Virginia. She goes to every show. And she doesn't get in the politics. She supports every single promotion out there. You know what I mean? I love that lady and her whole family, but she records them. So she puts them on her YouTube. So like I said, the best thing is, I mean, just in the search bar, Jeff Paul Wrestler, PWL Wrestling, and it all, I mean, there's so many. Like, one thing I like to do is like I was telling her, is my son loves to watch it on TV. So I'll just type in Jeff Paul Wrestler and just start playing stuff. And it helps me too, because, I'll be doing work around the house and I'll kind of watch them. Like, if it's from 2 years ago, I'll be like, man, I can't believe I did that instead of that. I would have done that now. Instead, just little things like critique myself on.
My question is, how many times has he speared you so far?
Oh, that's I'm telling you, his favorite thing. Now he's gotten to where he likes to climb the couch like it's the stuff. So he sentons me, he stomps on me, he knows, like, I mean, again, he just turned 1 August 31st. And he knows, like, if we're in the floor wrestling, if I put my hand on him, he knows to kick his shoulder up at 3.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he's very smart to the business, and the doctor says he'll be 6'7" based on his percentiles. So, if he wants to do it, he'll be welcome.
Wow. Cindy, I do have one more question for Jeff, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Jeff. I've been watching a lot of wrestling lately, and I tell you what, the Sheamus slaps, the punches on the chest there. Of course, you feel that. The one move I want to ask you, how do you prepare for something like Finn Balor, the coup de grace? How do you prepare for that? Because if that's me, my ribs are broken, and you might as well just call 911 or the morgue because I'm done after something like that.
The best thing, what I do, so like before I hit the curtain, and I guess I just have a really high pain tolerance too, but before I hit the curtain, I kind of transform. And I'm kind of like, I'm not going to feel anything out there. I kind of hook myself up. And then, the next day is a different story. I mean, when you go get out of bed. But during the match, I just kind of, if it makes sense, like, so like if you're getting shot with a paintball gun, for example, if you watch the paintball come through the gun and hit you, it's a lot worse than just take. You know what I mean? So just like if the doctor gives you a shot, look away. You don't even know when the needle's in. So that's kind of what I do. I just, I don't really psych myself out about it. I kind of just keep going, keep the momentum, because if I sit there and break down, like with the chops, for example, you just kind of know, like, hey, let's just get this over with. Yeah, I mean, they're coming. But as a worker, like, I would rather you chop me and it erupt the place than you barely make any sound.
Gotcha.
Chop me as hard as you can. Let's get the fans going.
Gotcha. Yep. Cindy, go ahead. Take it away.
Is there anything else that you would like for everybody to know?
Just
information, or
if you guys are thinking about it, commit to it. And you don't have to come to, the PWL school. There's plenty of places. There's Power Slam. They're in Ohio right now, right across the border. I believe MLW started a school in Nitro, I believe. One of my personal favorite people of all time is the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valent. I love that man. I'm there. Like, I go see him every couple of weeks, just, tell him, hey, and greatest man you'll ever meet. I'm going on record saying nicest man you'll ever meet. But he has a school, Boogie's Camp down there. They train every Sunday. But, there's so many opportunities. The Nightmare Factory, go do it. Gangrel has a school in Florida. Go do it. And, set your own limitations. Like, when I started, my goal was, okay, I'd like to work so-and-so. And then, like, when I got in there with, like, the Jason Kincaid, for example, I'm like, I held my own with Jason Kincaid. He's still probably 10 times a better technical wrestler, but we had a good match. Then, I got in there with Ricky Morton. I'm like, okay. Got in there with Hernandez, Johnny Swinger, Fandango, with Earl Hebner as the referee. You know what I mean? Like, tell me when I'm a kid that could barely afford to go wrestle or go to a show that Earl Hebner is going to be refereeing my match.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy to me. So, here's probably the most famous referee of all time, and he's, reffing me. I was in Roanoke, Virginia when Fandango made his WWE debut. He was going by Johnny Curtis at the time. You know what I mean? I was in the audience, and then I'm sitting there working him on the indies. It's amazing. Like, I'll see people like talking about like Matt Cardona all the time, the indie guy. I'm like, hey, I just saw a show with him last week. Like, it's just crazy to me how it happens. But like I said, I had to bet on myself because I didn't have a lot of people in my corner. And you're not usually like this business is cutthroat. There's not going to be a lot of people that extend the hand. It's just not going to happen because you've got to look at like this. There's a fine line. You have to respect the veterans. You have to take their advice. But there are some veterans that are going to look at you like, hey, that guy is taking my spot.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, instead of passing the torch, they want to hang on and just bury you. So, you just have to really believe in yourself, and you're going to get told no a lot. There's a lot of promotions that told me no before that now in year 6 are wanting me to come work for them. It took me 6 years to get down to Winston-Salem, which I'm going Sunday. So, I just won my first championship out of state a couple weeks ago in Johnson City, Tennessee. So, now I have 3 championships, and it's like that wasn't supposed to ever happen. You know what I mean? So you just got to believe in yourself. Find a gimmick that works. Be comfortable in what you do. And, I said, you'll probably have 10 haters and 1 supporter. Make that 1 supporter happy.
Yeah, I like how you said that. It's always about being positive and working for your goals. Number one. I don't know if you ever heard of Izzy Moreno. She wrestles for Mission Pro Wrestling. She'll be hopping on the show about 4 weeks on the Atomic Drop, and she was telling me that from age 5, where she used to go to WWE events where her mom could barely afford anything, and today she's wrestling with Mission Pro Wrestling. Through passion and dedication.
Is she the Bailey fan?
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
Yeah. Yes. Good. I've watched
right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all about dedication. And man, I tell you, I give you kudos to everything you do out there. You put your body on the line, 24/7, 7 days a week, no days off, basically. And, when you talk about athletes, a lot of people don't put that in the category. But man, I tell you what, I respect the hell out of you for what you guys do. Definitely do.
I appreciate it. Like I said, I really have dedicated this past year as far as body wise. I've never been a big gym guy. I've always just trying to rely on like natural, build. My goal at the beginning of January, when I really started hitting it hard again, was to hit 300 pounds on the bench press. And I did that last week. So
wow, that's awesome.
Kind of like, just keep it going. I actually, and you'll be able to see it on my page, I did a year 1 and a year 6 photo. And like year 1, I didn't have no abs, no pecs, no body. Now, year 6, I have all that. And it didn't come overnight. I'm constantly like, I fast every day till 2:00, which sucks. I have to eat so many grams of protein a day. I'm on creatine. Like, I do all this stuff, to try to, just look better out there. I think every wrestler deals with some sort of body dysmorphia, at some point in their career.
Yeah, it's true.
A lot. We're going out there in front of hundreds of people, in tights, boots.
As long as you don't wear a halter top like Pretty Poison, okay?
Yeah.
I'll watch you, okay?
Pretty
Anything else?
deadly.
Yeah, Pretty Deadly. I'm sorry, that's what it is. Pretty Deadly. I'm sorry. See, that's why I don't even watch them, so I can't. This is something I just can't. Sorry. Cindy, anything else before we get out of here?
I just want to thank you again, Jeff, for coming on. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties that we've had, but yes, again, thank you. We'll get your links put up in the comments and stuff so people will know where to check you out. And Paul, since I can't see to read the sponsors, would you please do the honor?
Oh, sure. No problem. Listen, we got some great sponsors out there. First, we'll talk about Jason Fine. If you're in any legal advice you need help with, call Jason Fine, 1-800-HURT-123. Attorney Big Al, motor vehicle accident, slip and fall, workman's comp, personal injury claims. 3 convenient locations throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. First in Jersey, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, of course, and Philadelphia, PA, and great state of PA. Also, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Make sure you reach out to Jason Fine or Attorney Big Al. 1-800-HURT-123. Mention Out of the Box. No recovery, no fee. And if we take your case, it's 33% guaranteed approval rate for you. Also, last but not least, is Monkey Cold Coffee. It's a late night. You want to get started early in the morning. The evolution of flavor-infused coffee. Bourbon, chocolate chip, toasted coconut, rum, Samaritan blend, newest blend, organic to Florida. And also, they're having a new honey organic flavor coming up this week. We'll mention that on the next shows coming up. Also use promo code OTBS Sports at Monkey Cold Coffee for your 10% off. And you can thank us later because a great coffee goes a long way to get your day started. So, Jeff, I want to say thank you so much for hopping on here. You're part of the Out of the Box family as well, the Keep It Real family. Please, whenever you want something, you have something going on, don't be afraid to reach out to one of us. Yes. We'll get you on the show. We'll, even if we're not on here, you want to do something on your own, let us know. We'll put you on here because word of mouth goes a long way, man. And it's all about respect, and we respect you coming on here. So we'd like to pay that forward to you as well.
I really appreciate y'all, and keep it going because your stuff's starting to take off too. You're slowly building it up. It's working.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. That's what we want to do. We want to get the word out about independent wrestling. That's what we're about. Mm-hmm. You guys deserve it.
Definitely. And I know we always try to pay it forward here, Cindy, but I know Thursday you have a great guest coming up here too. Can you tell? I have the banner up here. You can't see it, but can you tell me about Dahlia Black real quick? Dahlia
Black. She's an amazing woman. She's the chainsaw queen. She's going to come on and she's going to talk about CRPS. Is it CPRS? Which is it? I think anyway, it's something that she's had to deal with through her walk, and she's trying to come back from it to get back in the ring. Awesome. But she was trained by Rikishi and Bobby Blaze was one of her mentors.
Wow. Okay.
So y'all tune in. It'll be
All
good.
from several shows. Very nice girl.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Funaki was her other trainer.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Guys, listen, if you're out there, please subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to Keep It Real podcast as well. Great. The tag team deal was here. Cindy and Destiny, always getting the great guests. Tonight, Jeff James, PWL wrestler and owner. I appreciate you guys hopping on. Definitely, especially you, Jeff, giving us your time, because we've reached out. I've personally reached out to many wrestlers, and I've got a word to say, sure, I'll hop on, but send me a $500 check for 20 minutes. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, you're giving me a chance to market my brand, so we're helping one another out. And plus, I don't mind to help people that it doesn't bother me to get on here. I enjoy talking about wrestling. I enjoy sharing my experiences.
Definitely. Well, Cindy, you ready to take it home? How about you get us out of here?
I'm ready. Once again, you guys, follow Jeff. Get on his Facebook. Follow Jeff, PWL. Watch the matches. Go see him live. You won't regret it. I promise you, you will not regret it. It's worth it. I spent $10. Come on. But this is Cindy and Destiny. Do what?
That's a meal at McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly.
Without this fudge sundae too.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. Like I always say, you can actually build relationships with these independent wrestlers too. Get to know them, get to talk to them. It's like a family.
And it's the greatest thing, Cindy. You go to these events and you walk down little bitty kids. We went to Payback about 3 months ago, Dave and I, and we seen all these little kids just trying to talk to the wrestlers. They just walk right by. And it's just with indie wrestlers, they're the unknown people of the world that give you the foundation, the love, and the dedication that goes a long way. Because, to me, it's like I can afford going to an event, but I'd rather go to an indie event because I get more acknowledgement and dedication through an indie wrestler talking to you personally, to take the time to talk to you.
And a lot of those guys forget they started on the indies. About 75% of them started the indies. There's very few that walk into WWE and get a job.
Sure.
So they just seem to forget that, those fans were there for them on the way up. And how many of them do you see? They have their run with WWE. Perfect example, Matt Riddle right now. He's back on the indies, but from what I heard, he's always treated the fans well, and they remember that. You know what I mean? So he's still going to make his money. And that's just one example of all the releases that's happened recently. These guys are going to be back on the indies. You know what I mean? So people remember how you treated them.
That's my motto to everybody that I've ever ran across in my past until now. It's like, don't forget where you came from, because you can always go back there one day, Yeah. So you ready to get out of here, Cindy, Destiny, and Jeff? I appreciate you guys, Jeff hopping on here.
I'm ready.
All right. Once again, Cindy, take us out of here one more time, please, and we'll get out of here.
Cindy and Destiny with Keep It Real, and with Jeff James, PWL, and Paul Spencer, Out of the Box Sports. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you next time.